many of you are setting yourselves up for failure and you've chosen the hardest path to actually achieve your goals when there are paths that are significantly easier to take that would get you to the exact destination that you want to get to, and sometimes even in a shorter time frame. And this is coming from someone that's honestly tried it all. I only recently realized in the last like year or two that becoming successful wasn't all about how hard you work. That's all I thought it was. It was all about the number of hours that I put in. And it wasn't true. There are so many other things that come into play with how successful you become and reaching your goals. What vehicle are you in? Who do you have around you? What information do you or do you not have? And that's just to name a few. And so, what I've actually realized, or another one to mention, is what are you using as your form of leverage? What kind of business model are you in? Are you in a business model that leverages labor, capital, code, media? All of these things can influence how big you can take your business, how big you can take your success, and how fast you can actually grow to these like significantly high levels of business success. And I'm still personally figuring it out as well. But when I do figure out something that I know is 100% true, I like to jump on here and share it. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share with you guys a mental framework that I now use to achieve my goals easier. And like I mentioned, I've been on the other side where I've done it and I've made it very difficult for myself. And then I've found the light, and I want to help you find the light as well. So to start this off, instead of asking, how do we make achieving our goals 10 times easier? Let's instead inverse this, like Alex Hormozi always encourages people to do. And he gets that from who he has looked up to. That was Charlie Munger, the inverse theory, who then took it from, I believe it was Einstein. But it's an exercise where you take a question and then you just inverse the question and you get better answers. So instead of asking yourself, how do I become successful? It would be hard to answer that. You may not immediately have a lot of things that come to mind. At least not specifically. You'd be like, well, I need to work hard. I need to become talented. It is very vague terms. Our brain has a hard time figuring out, how the positives. Like, well, what are the positives? How do I become successful? That's a positive leading question. Like, what am I grateful for is a positive question. But if I was to ask you, what is currently annoying you in your life right now, you'd be like, oh, let me tell you, boom, because it's so much easier for our brain to figure out the negatives. So instead of asking the question, how do we achieve our goals 10 times easier? Let's actually inverse that and ask how to make achieving goals 10x harder. And by the way, this is not going to be a perfect video. I want you to sit back and enjoy as I get through this and make my mistakes, especially as I learn how to use this new cool tool that I got. Um, how do we make our achieving our goals 10 times harder? Let's ask that question. So if I was to ask you that question, what comes to mind? How would you make achieving your goals 10 times harder? Let's start to like note down a couple things. I've got my notes here as well. The first thing that comes to my mind personally, which is something I can relate to a lot, is set a very short time frame. So let's say it's you going, I want to achieve this goal. I want to make $1 million a year and I want to do it in the next 3 months, right? That's making achieving your goals a lot harder, right? Because you've now set a time frame that is so short and is so unrealistic that the chance of you actually achieving your goals is so significantly less, and so therefore it's much harder to actually achieve it. So you would set a very short time frame. An example that I can give with this is, um, actually, you know what? I have saved these examples when we start to do the inverse, so I'll save that. But let's keep going here. I need to start getting better at not getting sidetracked. So what else comes to mind, right? We set a short time frame. Another thing that can come to mind is, say, working, say 15 hours a day on tasks that move you nowhere or in the wrong direction. That's making achieving your goals much harder, right? That's like rowing your boat in the wrong direction, right? Or rowing your boat against the stream and you just staying in the same spot. That would make achieving your goals way harder, right? Okay, what else comes to mind? Um, you seek no help. You seek no help. Um, and try to do it alone. You seek no help and try to do it alone. That would make achieving your goals a lot harder as well. Like, no one helped me. I want to try and do this all on my own. You set up your environment, the environment that you're in, the environment that you work in, the people around you, your office space, where you work from is distracting. It's messy. Um, easily you can easily get distracted and get off course, right? What's another thing that you could do? You would surround yourself with people that would hold you back, surround with people that would hold you back. That would make it holding you back. Now imagine you are trying to achieve your goal, whatever your goal is. I want you to put that goal in your mind. You know what it is for you. Okay. Let's say that's the goal that you want to achieve. How much more difficult would it be for you to achieve this goal if you set a very short time frame? You were working 15 hours a day on tasks that would move you nowhere or in the wrong direction. It would be a goal that was so massive and so big that required skill sets that you do not currently have or knowledge that you don't currently have, but you choose to seek no help and you try to do it completely alone. You work in an environment that's distracting and is completely, messy, and you surround yourself with people that are constantly holding you back from moving forward towards this goal, right? So now that we have our answers, what can we do? And by the way, you can keep on doing this and you can come up with some of your own answers. So what do we do? Well, we inverse it now to get the answer to the question on how to achieve our goals and make them 10 times easier. So the first thing that you can do, and this is the easiest one and one that I highly recommend, and that is give yourself a long time frame. I've been at business since I was 19 and I'm 27 now. And I understand wanting to achieve the big goal very, very quickly more than anyone. More than anyone that I personally know. There's a level of success that I have still till this point not reached, that I have desperately wanted to reach every year since I was 19. And every year I set next year is the year that it would happen. I set ridiculous timeframes, insane timeframes. And when I look back at my journey, I would say not only did I make it much harder for myself. I was pretty stressed, and I didn't get a lot of positive reinforcement because every year I felt like I was failing. But it also made me make very bad decisions for the most part because I was always looking for the next thing, so lots of shiny object syndrome, making bad decisions, making short-term decisions on, what's going to get me there quicker with who I hired and what, businesses I chose to pursue. And so when I was able to finally start to step back and give myself longer time frames, so much positive happened. And I've done that now for business. I've given myself some breathing room. I've given myself a longer time frame, and I've done it also for my health and have seen significant positive results. I'll share a few things with you. So Tony Robbins, he says that people overestimate what they can achieve in 1 year and underestimate what they can achieve in 10. And being, around 5 years into my current business and maybe total around 8 years in business, I can see how once you've got like your foundation set up, you could go from struggling your first 3 years to doing okay for the next couple of years after that. But then in the last 2 years, just shoot up and achieve massive success. And I've went through periods like that. I've had periods where my business has just taken off and scaled. Granted, I didn't have the right foundations, and we had to pull back and make some adjustments, but I got a taste of it, and then it felt great. It was really full on, but it felt great. And it made me realize, wow, like if I had the right product and I was in the right market and I had all these other things that were set up for success that I didn't know I need to have set up for success, I would have scaled. And like in 6 months, if we were just going at the same pace, I would have ticked off every box that I ever had that I wanted to accomplish since I was 19. But by giving myself a longer time frame now, I am more patiently going through my journey. I'm in no rush. I am giving myself the opportunity to make long-term decisions with delayed gratification, and it's just made my decision making a lot better. One aspect of my life that I was struggling with for quite some time was getting my health in check. I would constantly go through aggressive diets, falling off the bandwagon, aggressive diets, falling off the bandwagon, going and training 6 days a week, then not training, when I can't sustain it, not training. It was always, I made it very difficult. I wanted to lose 10 kilos in 7 weeks, and I wanted to like train 7 times a week. And I just made everything much harder by setting a really short time frame. And then recently I said, okay, I want to drop my weight, and I want to gradually lose around 9 to 10 kilos, which is not an easy thing for me to do because I don't have a lot of fat on me. But I said, I want to gradually lose 9 to 10 kilograms over the next, and I said, instead of doing it over the next couple, like 8 weeks, I'd give myself 6 months to do it, 6 to 7 months to do it. And I was like, if I can just lose 0.2 kilograms a week, I should be able to get there, something in that range. Now, what that allowed me to do was it allowed me to not be as aggressive with my diet. And so now it's actually so much more sustainable. I don't even feel like I'm on a diet. I'm just eating, and I allow myself to cheat from time to time because I'm not making it this hard, difficult thing. I'm cruising. And every single week I'm shedding and dropping slowly and slowly and slowly. And the thing is, 6 months time, one day I'm just going to wake up and I'm going to be at that goal weight, and I would have done it sustainably, and I would have made my journey there so much easier, and I would have guaranteed I was going to get there because I stuck at it. So it's almost better to set things up so that you just keep chipping away than for you to aggressively go at something for a short time frame that is not going to be sustainable. And the same is the same is said with business. I was always in the mentality that business was about launching a product and scaling it as much as possible. Whereas now I'm in the mindset where I'm like, okay, well, I have my foundational business, and I'm looking after it. I have another idea which I believe that could be the idea that's going to take me to that next level. It's in the right vehicle, the right market, etc. And instead of putting pressure to make that business very profitable, I said to myself, I'm not interested in seeing a dollar from this for the next 6 months. Instead, the goal is to build a product market fit. What I want to get is for customers to really get results from it. I want them to organically refer without really me asking. I want to hear things like, oh my God, this is amazing. I feel like we're underpaying. These are the goals that I have now. And because I've set a time frame, not to really care if I've made any money from it, means like I can give this away for 6 months completely for free. And that's actually going to benefit me because it's going to mean I'm going to focus on doing the right thing, which is if I'm going to build a really good product, I need to have more and more users. And in order for me to get more users, the best thing I can do is be willing to give it away for free in the short term. If I can give it away for free and I can afford to do that, then I can get users to use the product that will then give me feedback, which will then make the product better, which will then get them to retain and then eventually move into paid users. But then I could always get them to start referring, and I can get case studies and testimonials. And it just makes the growth later down the track so much more easier, so much more sustainable. And all of this has come on the back of just setting a longer time frame, not killing yourself to try and achieve your goals in a short time period. The next thing is focusing on working less hours. So less hours on tasks that shoot you forward, right? If you were to do the polar opposite, of working 15 hours a day on tasks that get you nowhere or move you in the wrong direction, that on tasks that in right direction. If you were to do the polar opposite, you would work less hours. Your mindset would become, okay, instead of me thinking about working 15 hours, I'm going to now ask myself, if I only had 3 hours to work, what would I work on that would move me the furthest in the right direction? You know, what can I put into this 1 unit of 1 hour of time that will then create the biggest outcome for me? Okay. So an example, a very easy example is even with these YouTube videos. So I used to edit these videos myself, and it would be in the back of my mind because I know how to outsource properly and I'm always preaching about that. It'd be in the back of my mind to eventually like take that editing process of putting together the thumbnail and uploading the video on YouTube and uploading it to my story and editing the little mistakes that are made here and there, blurring certain things out. I just do it myself because I'm like, you know what, it's probably quicker for me to do it than to train someone. And the answer is yes, it is actually quicker for me to do it. However, if I spend, for example, if it takes me an hour to put together a training module on how to get this done versus 20 minutes to actually do it, if I upload one YouTube video per week for the next 12 months, that's 20 minutes, that's 60 minutes. Let's just call it 60 minutes, an hour a month, 12 hours a year, 12 hours a year in just me doing the YouTube videos myself, right? But if I was to instead spend 1 hour instead of 20 minutes, 1 hour doing that process of editing the video and uploading it and developing a process and recording training videos and then passing it over to a VA or someone from my team to take over, now that 1 hour of task has saved me 12 hours. Not only has it saved me 12 hours or more over the next 12 months, but it actually will now make me more consistent in creating videos because when I sit here and I record this video, I don't really have to worry about recording the video and then also going and editing it, right? Because that's what would stop me from being inconsistent with my content before is how much work there was after you edit the video to get the content actually uploaded and edited. And so that's just a small example there, like really, really small example is, and that's an example of an idea where you now start thinking, if I had less time, what would I do instead? Okay. Getting really clear on where you want to go will then give you the right direction you actually need to head in. That's really important. But then also really thinking about, again, like what tasks can you actually focus on in your business that are really going to move you in the right direction. And that is what you would do. And that would make your life a lot easier. Imagine you could work less hours on less tasks and achieve your goals. That would make achieving your goals significantly easier, right? So one thing I'll share with you, because I've got it on my notes, is I get clarity and I reflect every day. I write out my high level outcomes every second or day or so. I remind myself every day and I ask myself, am I working on tasks that move me closer to this goal? And if so, by what magnitude? And the tasks that move me by the highest magnitude are the tasks that I actually prioritize when I start working. The next thing is seek help. Instead of doing it alone, seek help. Have people who have been down your road. Let me give you an example here, okay? Let's say you think of the idea of becoming successful, like reaching your goal. Let's say you think about it the same way you would think about making your way through a jungle, like the forest. Like let's say you're going through a jungle, right? And you've started at point A and you want to get to point B, which is getting out of the jungle, and on the other side is Valhalla for you, right? It's the success. Now, if you go through that jungle by yourself, the first time you come across a plant that, or like a mushroom or some food or berries you want to eat, you might eat them and then get really sick, and then that will delay you might need 2 weeks to recover. Or you may, go down a path where there's like a bear trap, and then it snaps your foot in half, and you have to spend now 3 months recovering. Or you might just end up going around in circles and think you're making progress, but you end up at the same place that you started. Um, you don't know which path to take, what foods are safe to eat, where to build shelter, how to even build shelter properly to protect yourself. And you also make the likelihood of you getting to the other side so significantly lower. You have a much higher chance of actually giving up or being killed, figuratively speaking, right? Now, what do you think would happen if instead of doing it by yourself, you went and found a guide who has been through the jungle 50 times? What do you think would happen? Don't you think you would avoid a lot of pain? Like, you would know exactly what foods to eat because he's already done it or she's already done it. You would know which path to take. You would avoid going around in circles. It would be significantly less painful. You would take significantly less time. And then the likelihood of you actually getting to the other side is now almost 100%. You're 100% guaranteed to get there because you have someone who's been up and down 50 times. They know the path. And this, especially when it comes to business, comes in the forms of mentors, courses, and books, right? If there is something that you are struggling with, like you don't know how to manage your finances, go and find a book where someone's 20 years of life has been dedicated to, figuring out that particular topic, and you'll get all the secrets. If you have a particular like business model, and you're struggling to scale it, or you don't know how to start it or how to grow it, go and find someone who's done and achieved the goals and hit those levels that you want, and get them to share with you. Pay them, give them whatever they want to give you this information, because you're going to end up saving a lot more money in the long term just paying them, because that's going to cost you a lot of time and money to go through it. It's going to be a lot less painful and less stressful, and you're now almost 100% guaranteed to get there. And this was a big, big lesson that I had to learn. My ego became out of this world, thinking I knew everything. I started my journey all about knowledge and personal development, and then somewhere along the lines, I forgot all about it, and I stagnated in the same spot for 2 to 3 years as a result, and even at times took steps backwards. But in recent times, I have been, putting this at the top of my list, and honestly, it's just been changing so much. When you sit down with someone who has, achieved $1 million a month in the business model that you're trying to achieve, and they just tell you, what issues they ran into and how they currently have their team structured and their commission and how they hired and who they hired first and who they currently have hired and what mistakes they made and what they've done, like, that information is just out of this world invaluable. And that's the type of information and people I've, created an opportunity for me to get access to. And it's just changed the game. Instead of setting yourself up for distraction, set up your environment for success. Set up the environment for success. So remove all distractions. And then finally, instead of surrounding yourself by people who hold you back, instead surround yourself by people who push you forward. This here is a very sensitive topic, because many of you have family members that you love and you feel a sense of guilt and feel a sense of obligation to have them in your life. There are some of you that have best friends and people you went to high school with and, primary school with, and they, are people that you care about and you care about and you love. And there is just people that you are surrounded by, whether it's aunties and uncles and whoever it may be, that are saying things to you that constantly push you back. When you bring up that you want to do a business idea, instead of being like, go for it, no, instead they'll say things like, oh, but you should really do your degree. You should really do this. And, oh, that's risky. Are you sure you want to do that? Like, people like that, you need to just make a commitment to yourself to not necessarily get rid of, but just spend significantly less time with. Like, if you want to make your life to success much easier, surround yourself by people who push you forward rather than push you back. Okay. So that is essentially the answer. Um, and I know that if you actually sat down and spent some time doing this, you would find more ways to make achieving your goals 10 times easier. So here's what I want you to think about. Think about the goal that you want to achieve. Get crystal clear on what that is. What's that number? What's that business? What's that lifestyle? What do you picture? And then ask yourself, how would I make achieving that goal 10 times harder? And every point that comes to mind, then inverse it, right? So I'd give myself a short time frame. I'm going to give myself a long time frame. Instead of trying to achieve it in 1 year, I'm going to try and achieve it in 6 years, right? Instead of like working like a maniac on tasks that move me in the wrong direction to keep me forward, I'm going to work less, but I'm going to be much more careful to make sure what I work on actually moves me forward. I'm going to do it alone. No, I'm going to seek help, and I'm going to overcompensate and get as many people as I can who've been through my journey. I'm going to get as many of them in my corner. I'm going to learn from as many of those people. My environment is distracting. I'm going to make it so there's no distractions. I'm going to go the polar opposite and extreme. More ideas that you have like that, the closer you're going to get to setting up your life to achieve your goals in a way that is much easier. That's it. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with someone that you care about. Please share it with someone who you would love to see achieve their goals 10 times easier. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. And that's pretty much it. Until next time, guys, take care.